In central China's Henan province lies the small county of Lankao. Today, it is a well-known production center for traditional Chinese musical instruments. Nearly 95% of the soundboards used in traditional Chinese musical instruments are produced here. Historically, however, Lankao was known for something quite different: poverty. In this edition of Footprints, we journey back to a challenging chapter in Lankao's history to meet the man who helped change the course of Lankao's future. His name was Jiao Yulu. At the entrance to Zhuzhuang village in Lankao County, Henan Province, stands a towering Polonia tree. Its vast canopy stretches high into the sky. Its thick, weathered trunk is so immense that it takes 3 adults, arms linked, to encircle it. The tree carries an identifier plaque numbered 0001, and it has got a name: the Jiao Tong tree. The name was given by the locals to commemorate the man who planted it over 6 decades ago, Jiao Yulu, a dedicated public servant who devoted the last years of his life to leading the people of Lankao in their battle against natural disasters and poverty in the early 1960s. Lankao is a county under the jurisdiction of Kaifeng, a historical city in central China's Henan province. It is situated on the lower reaches of the Yellow River, just off the southern bank. The Yellow River, China's second longest, makes a major shift in its flow here, turning northeasterly towards the Bohai Sea. Throughout history, the river breached and changed its course several times around the area, causing repeated floods that unloaded heavy sand to the region. This unfortunate legacy, combined with the strong, dry winds that sweep through the region each spring and winter, left Lankao plagued by persistent sandstorms, frequent waterlogging, and widespread saline alkali soil. The 3 plagues was the name locals gave them. The year 1962 saw the 3 plagues striking the county particularly badly. The county's grain output plummeted to its historical low, leaving the local people struggling to put food on the table. From spring that year, the Kaifeng prefectural authorities have been looking for the right candidate to lead the people of Lankao through its difficulties. But the dire situation in the county and the daunting task made many candidates flinch. In the winter, Jiang Shun, then secretary of the Kaifeng Prefecture Committee of the CPC, put forward a candidate's name: Jiao Yulu. He recalls how Jiao Yulu took the appointment as party chief of Lankao.
Jiao Yulu accepted the appointment without hesitation. He never mentioned that his chronic liver disease was getting worse. It wasn't until much later that we realized just how serious his condition had become.
Jiao Yulu was born in 1922 in Zibo in coastal Shandong province. In his youth, he worked as a laborer and farmhand. After the founding of the People's Republic of China, Jiao Yulu received training at a university and worked in the industrial machinery development and production sector for many years in both Shandong and Henan provinces. During the process, he gradually matured into a well-rounded leader on both the industrial front and in rural affairs. Jiang Shun had previously worked with Jiao Yulu on many challenging projects. He was impressed with the man's resolve under tough situations. He hoped Jiao could come to the disaster-stricken county of Lankao and help turn around its struggling situation for the benefit of its people. So Jiao Yulu's life crossed paths with Lankao. In December 1962, Jiao Yulu arrived in Lankao. Greeting him was a barren landscape, scarred by poverty. Much of the crops were destroyed by severe floods and sandstorms. Out of its total population of 360,000, nearly 200,000 were affected by the disasters. Many residents were abandoning their homes to find a living elsewhere. Liu Junsheng was then working with Lankao's county publicity department. He recalled the situation of Lankao back then.
Back then, Lankao was being battered by natural disasters and famine. Many people had no choice but to leave home in search of a living, and even local officials felt powerless.
The first thing Jiao Yulu did was to boost the morale of local officials, to mobilize them and the local residents to join him for a hard battle for the future of Lankao. On a stormy night, Jiao Yulu summoned all the county officials to Lankao railway station, where the disaster victims were departing for other places to seek a living. He wanted the public servants to see for themselves how many were forced to leave their homes. Lei Zhongjiang is a villager from Leiji village in Lankao. He was one of the disaster victims leaving that night.
Jiao Yulu saw him and spoke to him.
He walked over and said, "I work for the county government. My name is Jiao Yulu. I'm sorry we haven't done a better job, and you've had to go through this. Please take good care of yourselves on the journey."
Jiao's genuine remarks both surprised Lei Zhongjiang and filled his heart with warmth.
I never expected that. I thought he might try to persuade me to stay, but instead he respected my decision and simply told me to stay safe on the journey. That really touched me.
The grave scene at the train station forced Lankao's local officials to reflect on their pessimism. Jiao Yulu rallied them by his side, genuinely inviting them to join him for actions to improve the lot of the people. Impressed by Jiao's resolve and confidence, the whole county was mobilized with unprecedented enthusiasm for battling against natural disasters. His next step was to head straight into the villages hardest hit by sandstorms, waterlogging and soil erosion, to get a grip on the full extent of devastation. He made household visits to inquire about the living conditions of the villagers, for example, whether they had enough food, warm clothes and winter bedding in their homes. One bitter winter night, heavy snow blanketed Lankao. Braving the wind and freezing temperatures, Jiao Yulu and his fellow officials walked from village to village, delivering food to families in need. Locals still remember. That night, Jiao met an old couple in one of the houses. The old man was sick in bed and his wife was blind. When Jiao handed the relief goods to them, the thankful old man wanted to know who he was. Jiao Yulu's reply was, "You can think of me as your son, if you want." The old couple was moved beyond words. Wu Qing, a retired journalist who filed an in-depth report on Jiao Yulu in the 1960s, was very much moved by Jiao's sense of duty and love for the people when he was conducting his interview in Lankao back then.
It was his deep love and compassion for the people that drove him to give everything he had. He devoted himself to serving them right up until his very last breath.
The kindness of the people and their dire state of neediness made Jiao Yulu more determined to transform Lankao's natural environment and economic situation for them. He trusted the wisdom of the locals, who had been living on this natural disaster-laden land for thousands of years, for possible ways to fight the three plagues. On one of his field trips, a village animal keeper shared with Jiao Yulu his belief that if Lankao wanted to improve its lot, planting paulownia trees could be the way out. Jiao Yulu took it seriously. Lankao paulownia trees have some unique features that help them survive in Lankao's geographical conditions. They sprout late, but grow fast. They adapt well to drought and salt-alkali soil, making them a good choice for holding water and sand. The people of Lankao had planted paulownia trees in the past, but never on a large scale. 11 days after arriving in Lankao, Jiao Yulu tabled a work report analyzing what he had learnt about Lankao's situation and the possibilities of planting paulownia trees on a large scale as a potential means to contain its windstorms. But he hadn't yet figured out how he could make sure the saplings would not be blown away by the wind. The solution came when his field research took him to Jiangzhuang village. By pure accident, Jiao saw on a barren sand dune a tomb covered by a patch of green bush. The tomb belonged to the family of a villager Li Guoqing was working at Lankao County government at the time. He recalls how the villager told Jiao Yulu the way he kept his family tomb intact from the invading wind and sandstorms.
The
villager told him that there was a time when strong winds exposed a part of the coffin, which deeply upset the family. So they reburied it, covered it with a layer of silt, and planted a type of deep-rooted grass on top. Ever since then, even the strongest winds haven't been able to disturb the grave.
This genius approach inspired Jiao Yulu. He immediately ordered an experiment on a piece of sand dune. They first sealed the dune with silt. Surprisingly, it withstood the test of a level 7 gale. Jiao Yulu was more than excited. He gave this method a vivid name: plaster treatment. Trees planted on the sand dunes, covered with silt, also proved to have a much better survival rate. The method worked. Unfortunately, only 2 months later, a fierce storm swept through the area, snapping many of the newly planted saplings. Jiao Yulu was heartbroken. This setback prompted Jiao Yulu to launch a large-scale field investigation that would cover nearly every corner of Lankao. He quickly assembled a 120-member research team comprising grassroots officials, experienced farmers, and technical experts to study the 3 natural disasters that had long plagued the county. By then, Jiao Yulu had already begun suffering from a dull pain in his liver. Fearing that the grueling work would worsen his condition, his colleagues tried to talk him out of the idea of participating in the field investigations. But Jiao Yulu was a man of action. Staying behind in his office and relying solely on written reports was never his style. He believed the only way to understand the problems was to see them firsthand. The fieldwork was arduous. Whenever sandstorms swept across the county, Jiao Yulu and his team ventured into the raging winds to observe their direction and track the movement of the sand. During the flood season, they waded through the water to monitor changing water levels and flood patterns. Over the course of 6 months, Jiao Yulu and his team travelled more than 2,500 kilometers across Lankao's countryside, sometimes on foot and sometimes by bicycle. Their journeys took them to most villages in the county. They identified 84 major wind corridors, more than 1,600 sand dunes, and 62 silted river sections. Each site was carefully numbered and marked on the map. Based on such first-hand data, Jiao Yulu developed a blueprint to bring the county's sandstorms, waterlogging, and saline alkali soil under control within 3 to 5 years. In the spring of 1963, Jiao Yulu personally planted a Polonia tree atop a sand dune in Zhujuang village. It was assigned the number 0001. A vigorous county-wide tree planting campaign started. Jiao guided the villagers to dredge thick silt from riverbeds and spread it over the sand dunes before planting rows of Polonia trees. The method proved very effective. The trees withstood the relentless sandstorms, and before long, vast Polonia groves began to transform the landscape of Lankao. Chen Ming, a researcher from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, has been doing research on that part of history.
The tree planting method Jiao Yulu promoted came from the time he spent out in the field. It built on the knowledge and experience of local villagers, reflecting his practical, down-to-earth approach to solving problems.
By the end of 1963, the area of newly planted trees had covered over 20,000 mu, or more than 3,000 acres of Lankao's land. They treated around 15,000 acres of saline alkali land, and windbreak embankments had been built all over the county. Jiao also had people dig trenches to drain floods and ploughed the land to control alkali. When the soil stabilized, crops were able to grow. Although Lankao was hit by rare floods in autumn that year, the annual grain production of 1963 still increased by 37%. Jiao Yulu's environment treatment plan had scored its initial success. Chen Ming from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences
Jiao Yulu's development plan for Lankao wasn't based on guesswork or impulse. It grew out of thorough field research and a deep understanding of the area's recurring natural disasters.
As spring returned to Lankao in 1964, a renewed spirit of hope filled the air. People set out to plant more trees. Jiao Yulu was also hopeful that he could achieve more in taming the sandstorm, waterlogging, and soil saline treatment. The thought of it made his heart surge. But his liver pain was getting increasingly acute and more frequent. Often he had to press down on the painful area with his fist during work. He was also getting substantially thinner. His grandson, Yu Yin, describes the pain he was then suffering.
My grandmother first realized how serious his illness was when she saw that the pain was keeping him awake at night. Sometimes he'd press a pen against his side just to ease the pain. We all knew he wasn't well, but we had no idea he was suffering that much.
For Jiao Yulu, there was always more to be done for his green project. He only made time to go to hospital in the provincial capital, Zhengzhou, for treatment when he was too weak to work. There he was diagnosed with liver cancer. His health condition would no longer allow him to go back to his work in Lankao. Inspired by Jiao Yulu, the people of Lankao County continued their efforts in harnessing the three plagues. In 1965, the county achieved self-sufficiency in grain production, and half of the saline alkali land was converted into arable land. The appearance of Lankao began to change. But Jiao Yulu did not live to see it. On May 14, 1964, he passed away at the age of 42. According to his last wishes, he was buried on one of the sand dunes in Lankao, his battlefield, a place he loved and where he toiled away so he could watch the people of Lankao finish his unfinished job in bringing about Lankao's transformation. Jiao Yulu became widely known in 1966 after media reports about him were published. His devotion touched many hearts and inspired many more to work hard to overcome challenges they faced. Even today, Jiao Yulu is still seen as a role model for the country's public servants. Zhu Wei is a researcher on CPC party history.
He cared deeply about the people and dedicated himself to serving them. Making life better for the people of Lankao was always his top priority. He was practical, hardworking, and never backed away from a challenge. Every decision he made was based on careful research, and he found practical ways to tackle sandstorms, flooding, and saline alkali soil.
As the saying goes, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree long ago. 6 decades have gone by. Lankao is no more the windswept, disaster-laden saline alkali land. It has also long rid itself of poverty and is brimming with vitality. The Polonia trees planted by Jiao Yulu and the villagers to fend off sandstorms have now become a green bank and money spinner for today's generations. With moderate density, good resonance, and beautiful wood patterns, Polonia wood grown in Lankao was found to be ideal for making musical instrument soundboards in the 1980s. Today, Lankao has become one of the country's largest production bases for traditional Chinese musical instruments. There are 219 musical instrument production and supporting enterprises in the county, with an annual output of 700,000 instruments. Nearly 95% of the soundboards used in traditional Chinese musical instruments are sourced from Lankao. More than 60 years later, the tree Jiao Yulu planted still towers over Zhujuang village. Its roots run deep beneath the soil he fought to reclaim. Its branches bear silent witness to Lankao's transformation from poverty to prosperity. And for generations of visitors, it stands as a living reminder of the man who initiated this change, Jiao Yulu. With that, we come to the end of this edition of Footprints. Thanks for listening. If you're interested in learning more about the incredible people and their remarkable stories in China, find us on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Just search Footprints and you'll find us anytime, anywhere. I'm Bob Jones. Bye for now.